All the trees in North America by their leading bark on roots. We had a good fire by friendship group. That was a lot of fun that day. I didn't push it all the way through. My daughter stayed in Girl Scouts. She got the gold award.
All right. Well, she got the everything good there.
Well, it was kind of funny, elementary and middle school, she was kind of ostracized by so badly, but asking all these questions, and I said, shut up. A lot of them made fun of her, and she was really kind of blossomed a little bit in high school, and now at Georgia Tech. And student council, she's, all these guys. So I told her, it's much better to be in college than in elementary school. And all those girls that was got almost 2 million Can you give me a ticket?
John was raised in the 60s. He worked as a legislative assistant for Representative Hank Johnson, and then later as his campaign manager, which was a successful campaign, by the way, in 2010. After completing his master's at the London School of Economics, at the same time, I think Mick Jagger also got his degree there. Not contemporaries, I don't think. John went to work for a documentary film company, which later he became president of, or CEO, and it specializes in anti-corruption investigations. So welcome, John. Meet Reagan Edwards.
Hey everybody. Y'all feeling good? Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Needles in the Haystack. There are a huge number of volunteers who have made this event possible, who have put together what I think will be a really smooth and informative and fun afternoon. Very pleased to be able to introduce myself to you. My name is John Ossoff, and I'm one of these 18 candidates running in this 6th District special election. I was born and raised in Metro Atlanta, grew up in the 6th District on Hawthorne Drive, right in 30345, North DeKalb County. I think I spent about half of my childhood sitting in traffic on 400. Went to Georgetown University School of Foreign Service, where I had the honor of studying under Madeleine Albright. Worked as a congressional aide for 5 years for Congressman Hank Johnson, specializing in defense and national security policy. That is my professional background, and I learned a tremendous amount, grew a tremendous amount working on the Hill. I saw what can be accomplished in Congress, and I also saw Washington at its worst. And ultimately, I decided to leave. So as Gary mentioned, in 2012, I got a master's degree from the London School of Economics. And since then, I've run a small business that produces anti-corruption and organized crime investigations, as well as frontline conflict reports all over the world. And that has been the most rewarding and impactful work so far in my life. I've learned how to run a small business, meet payroll every month, balance the budget every year. I've been able to tell important stories, work with local journalists, and help get their stories out to the public. And I had no plans to return to politics anytime soon, until November. But a lot changed in November. we learned how little faith there is in politics. And now I think Washington is at its most dangerous, most divisive place in modern American history. So when I learned that my hometown congressman was vacating his seat, I sat down with one of my mentors, Congressman John Lewis. We should take a moment to give a round of applause and thanks to Congressman John Lewis. And Congressman Lewis encouraged me to run, and he said that he would endorse me if I did, and so I've thrown my hat in the ring. I'm proud to have Congressman Lewis's endorsement. I'm proud to have the endorsement of Congressman Johnson, Governor Barnes, Minority Leader Stacey Abrams. I'm proud by how well this campaign has unified Democrats in the 6th District and across Metro Atlanta behind our shared mission, which is to flip the 6th on April 18th. But it's not just about what we're opposed to, it's about what we're for. And we can win this election with a positive campaign that talks about the core values that unite all of us, and the contrast will be obvious. And we can talk about how we can grow Metro Atlanta into an economic powerhouse with tech and research jobs. We can talk about how we can solve our local transportation problems, put our public schools first, deliver more affordable healthcare solutions to all Georgians and all Americans, work across the aisle and find common ground. You can't win in the 6th District with a partisan campaign, and I'm not a partisan guy. I've got a background in national security, I'm a small business owner, and I'm reaching out to every voter in this district respectfully and humbly, with no prejudice, and making the case that I will represent them effectively even if we don't agree on all the issues. My last note is that this campaign's goal is not to get into a runoff. And if we approach this campaign from that perspective, we will not win. The campaign's goal, and what our whole community's goal needs to be, is to flip the 6th on April 18th and win outright. And we can do it if we're unified and we work hard and stay organized. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing today?
It's like a game show, doesn't it? Stacey Abrams mentioned to our group when she spoke to it that trying to convince Republicans is a fool's errand, that there are enough Democrats if we can just get them out to vote. Is she right? Or should we actually move towards trying to encourage moderate Republicans to work with us and come out and vote for us?
That's a great question. I think we have to differentiate between Republican voters, Republican elected officials, Republican Party officials. By nature, my campaigning philosophy is to reach out to everybody, respectfully and humbly. I think the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that there's a tremendous amount that a member of Congress does behind the scenes, other than the big ticket partisan fights on the floor of the House. There's connecting veterans with the VA. There's representing service members who are overseas or at bases in the US who need help from DOD. There's assisting small businesses with the Small Business Administration. None of that is partisan, but it's all critical to constituents. And so the case that I'm making to independents and moderate Republicans is, look, we may not agree on every issue. You may disagree with me on matters of policy, but I will work harder and do better representing you and providing extremely competent and open constituent service than anyone else running in this race on either side of the aisle. In terms of working across the aisle in the legislative context, I think that, Richard, you nailed it. It's about looking at every piece of legislation on the merits. The only question I will ask is, does this bill serve the public interest and serve the interests of my constituents in the 6th District? If it doesn't, I'll work to amend it so it does. If it does, I'll vote for it. When it hits the floor, if it's not right for us, I won't support it. And it won't be about partisanship, it won't be about personality. It'll be about doing right by you.
Reagan, what do you think is the best strategy for turning the 6th district blue?
This is a very interesting district. It's very educating.
I have been blown away by the grassroots momentum that this campaign has developed in the last couple of months. Absolutely blown away. We now have 7,000 volunteers working on this campaign. We are knocking on thousands of doors every week, canvassing every neighborhood in this district. And I think that one of the things I'm most proud of is that for all of the talk about division in the Democratic Party, this campaign and this effort to flip the 6th district has unified the grassroots and the party at all levels because everyone recognizes the stakes. This is the first chance in the country for us to make a statement about what we stand for. This is the first chance in the country for us to prove we know America can only remain strong, prosperous, and secure if we stay true to our values. And like it or not, the eyes of the rest of the nation are on Georgia right now. Because this is that first chance. So Gary, I think it comes down to recognizing that, look, you can raise the money and you have to. You can build the organization and you have to. But unless you're on the streets and in the community and knocking on doors and making phone calls, like this campaign is at a level I think maybe unprecedented in Georgia congressional campaigns, you can't win a tough seat like this. So that's what we're doing.
Reagan, you've learned a lot as a senior manager in business, I'm sure. How has that, your experience in business, shaped your ideas about leadership and management that you can bring in your first year as a congressperson?
Well, I've learned a lot, I must say. My mother was
statements. I'm only asking him if the people of the district need to know your financial statements, and when you make a commitment to turn in your financial statements, it's fair. Every candidate that runs for office, if you want Trump to release his taxes, how can you turn around and not ask a candidate for Congress to release his financial statement? This is true. I'm educating the voters. I'm not attacking him personally. He says he's raised $3 million. He's got 7,000 volunteers. I'm sure somebody can help him fill out a form that takes less than 1 hour. Thank you.
Can he respond to that? You should be able to respond to
Yeah,
that.
we'll hear, John will have a chance to respond to that. Rebecca, aside from healthcare, let me ask you this. I've heard you talk before, and you describe yourself as a fighter. Why is that important for a congressperson to be a fighter?
This country is in a crisis after the November election.
Yes.
You need someone like me who has a record of fighting for patients' lives, having their hearts in my hands.
Sure. I'm more than happy to respond to those questions, and I want to commend Ron for that commitment to transparency and educating the public. Yes, my business is headquartered in the United Kingdom. I don't think international business experience in this day and age is disqualifying for those who are running for Congress. My company does business in more than a dozen countries. Any given year, we work with some of the best local investigative journalists in the world to expose corruption, to expose organized crime, to expose the abuse of power. I'm proud of the work that I've done. I stand by it, and I'm happy to have any opportunity to talk about it. As for the financial disclosure, I believe the latest information we have on the deadline from the clerk of the House that it's March 18th. So you will have ample opportunity to review my finances in detail in advance of this election. I invite you to do so. And once again, I want to thank Ron for that commitment to transparency and holding everybody accountable. Thank you.
Now, Reagan, since you've been on the campaign for a while, campaign trail for a while, have you met?
Because we have to get anonymous, unlimited money out of the political system. My second point is about cybersecurity. We had, it has been reported, a breach of our election system here in Georgia just a couple of weeks ago. And I wrote a letter to the Secretary of State just a couple of days later, asking for more information about where it come from, what data may have been taken from the system, what data may have been altered in the system. I haven't heard back yet. So stay aware, and let's make sure that we invest properly in making sure that our infrastructure is not so vulnerable to attack.
For Mr. Ossoff, how would you deal with situations like Mr. Pruitt, who we have unbelievably in charge of the EPA and does not believe that the CO2 levels have anything to do with climate change? How would you handle the situation, sir?
Great question, thank you. Congress has a critical oversight role to play. And Congress can play that role even in the minority. We can do a lot to hold the leaders of these agencies accountable, to make sure that they're enforcing the laws that are on the books. I think it is appalling that this administration has placed in charge of the Environmental Protection Agency someone who doesn't seem to believe in the mission of the agency at all. And you will be able to count on me to stand up for clean air and clean water, to hold leaders of these federal agencies accountable if they fail to enforce not just environmental laws, but voting rights legislation, civil rights legislation. And I know from my experience working as a congressional aide, you can be effective in exposing wrongdoing in the executive branch, even when you're in the minority. I'll use that experience to hit the ground running on day one on your behalf.
Hi, my name's
To vote for people who really were not going to represent their interests. Somehow they were misled. How do we make sure, how do we bring those Democrats back into the fold? John, I'm wondering if you could take that. And
Did everyone get the question okay?
Repeat the question.
The question is, and forgive me if I don't get it quite right, sir, was, it seems there might be a lot of folks who are not voting in their own self-interest. And what do Democrats do to reach out to those folks and make the case that we represent their values and their interests? And I think I'd answer this in two parts. The first is, one of the key lessons that we need to have learned from this last election is never to attack or disparage voters. No matter who they support, no matter how strongly we may disagree with them, it's no way to win an election, it's no way to win an argument. The second point goes back to what I said at the beginning of this discussion, which is we have to be not just against, but also for our own vision. And we have to demonstrate a more potent, more hopeful, more inspiring vision for what America can be. In order to win people's hearts of living, we can beat campaigns that are based on fear and division and cynicism.
My take on this is that we lost the working class of the United States. We have given the impression, wrongly or correctly, that we're kept.
How do we win? Organization, ground game, resources, coalition building, and unity. All of those things are required, all right? Now, just real talk for a second, y'all. We got 5 weeks. 5 weeks to go until Election Day. It's not a primary. It's a special election. In average contributions of less than $30, my campaign has raised more than $3.5 million in 7.5 weeks. Okay? We've got 7,000 volunteers knocking on thousands of doors every week. We have built a coalition that includes the League of Conservation Voters, the AFL-CIO, End Citizens United, civil rights groups, Congressman John Lewis, hundreds of you who are in the audience here today, who have been going out into the community, communicating to folks who need to learn that there's an election on April 18th, and that we can win it outright on April 18th, and that should be our goal. So, I commend all of the candidates who are running, and you need to do your due diligence and determine what each of us stands for and who you want to support. But wherever you fall, don't forget that the goal we should all share is to win outright on April 18th and flip the 6th district now while we have this opportunity.
So, to answer your question, to be respectful to you, I think that we have to be honest with ourselves.
Thank you all so much for taking some time to engage in the democratic process here. Thank you, Gary, for doing a phenomenal job moderating. Thank you to Neil in the haystack. Thank you to Andretti. Thank you, Ray, Ron, Rebecca, and Richard for being willing to run and joining all of those who are sticking their necks out here to represent this district as well as we can. Here's the commitment that I'll make to you. I will work hard. I will represent you with humility and courage. I'll be open-minded. I'll never stop listening. I'll admit it when I don't know, and I'll go and find out. No matter your party, I'll provide the best constituent service of any congressional office in the country. I make that commitment to you. I will hold regular town halls and answer questions as long as you've got them. I'll explain transparently why I vote the way I do. And I will run not just the best campaign to flip the 6th in 5 weeks, but the best re-election campaign to hold it that Georgia has ever seen, with your help, with your time, with your efforts. So thank you so much to all of you who are already so invested, no matter which candidate you're supporting or how you're getting involved, for taking the time to do this now. This is a historic moment for Georgia. Like I said, the eyes of the nation are on us because we're the first up to bat. We're the first who have the opportunity to stand up for those core American values that are threatened right now. And I would be honored to have your support. I humbly ask for your support on April 18th. And whether you support me or one of these fine candidates, please make sure you're engaged somehow in this important effort. Thank you very much.
I want to thank all the candidates. They did a great job, didn't they? There are places to sign up for a phone bank outside. Congratulate yourselves for this great field we've got this time. Thanks for coming out, everybody.